What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today, I want to talk about how do we, as black people, deal with other black people who are being xenophobic and hateful or tribalistic to us while we are trying to be loving and understanding and Pan-African and kumbaya, to them. How do you do that? Because one thing I run across, as I do this Pan-African thing, right? As I, continue on my journey of wanting black people to unify with their brothers and sisters and wanting African Americans and the African diaspora who were forcefully immigrated to the Western Hemisphere to embrace their true history, their true identity, their true origin, and re-educate themselves on who they really are and undoctrinate themselves from the programming that the white Western world has put in our heads, how they have programmed us. We tend to run into a lot of people, who within our communities who are very, very tribalistic. They're very hateful and spiteful towards other Africans for various different reasons, right? But you know, but what I wanna really talk about is how do you handle it when they do that? Because we know it's gonna happen, right? We know that, like for me, I could talk as positive as I want about Nigeria, right? I can have I can go up my comment section, people can reply, they can say, oh, this is great, this is wonderful. But there's always gonna be like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 Nigerians that's gonna be talking trash. They're gonna tell me, oh, you're not Nigerian, you're not African, you are something else, right? And you're always gonna have different people, hate. Just like you got, there's a lot of African Americans who are telling African people, you're not black, you're not this, right? Right? And so if a African person who's pro unity, pro black people, or doesn't even haven't even formed an ideological identity yet. Maybe they are just developing it, and while they're developing it, and they're reaching out to their brothers and sisters in different places, they're encountering people who are hating on them with venom, right? And what that does is that may turn somebody who's just developing their thought, their idea of how certain people are, that will affect them, right? So you'll get somebody who's hateful. Let's say you get a hateful Nigerian who hates African Americans because, name something. It could be anything, right? But usually it's because of something they saw on TV, or a lot of the times there's not even an interaction. It's just something that they saw on TV, something they heard somebody else say, and they form their opinion, right? It's more than likely it's a very uneducated, unknowledgeable opinion for the most part, right? So these people become programmed with faulty information, and they go about their processes of how they're going to think with this faulty information. So then they start to hate on African Americans, right? They may run into a video where they see a bunch of African Americans talking trash about them being Nigerian, right? So what would they do? They would say, well, if they don't like us, well, I don't like them. And if they're gonna call me a African booty scratcher, I'm gonna call them descendants of slaves. I'm gonna come up with something to hurt their feelings because they hurt my feelings, right? And so, and then you get the African American who hears the reaction from that Nigerian because he heard the reaction. He's reacting from what that other African American. So then you get another African American who hears this Nigerian call him, oh, you descendant of slave, you this and that, you violent, just something that will hurt the feeling of the other group because their feelings are hurt from the group, right? It's a back and forth. You hit me, I hit you, and then there's a brawl. There's a what do you call it? There's a brawl that breaks out, right? Between everybody, right? Not physical in a sense, but verbal, online. The communicational brawl happens, right? And usually this happens with people who don't have enough. And I told myself I'm going to stop calling people stupid. The only people I'm going to call stupid are the ones that know better but decide to do the wrong thing otherwise. Like, I'm going to say those Trump supporters. Stupid. You got to be stupid to do that. Anyway, but besides that, unknowledgeable people just don't have enough information to make a proper assessment. Because the thing is, for every person you see that's talking trash, right, on the internet, because that person is representing, right, especially when it comes to black people. Whenever we see a black person, because we're communal, whatever community you're with, whatever you're saying, you represent that community. That's how we're going to automatically look at it like that, right? So, people don't really understand the gravity and the weight and the significance of the things that they say. They think they're just some dude on the internet. They think they're just some gal on the internet, But the thing is, the effect that they're having goes well beyond what they truly think that they're doing, and we don't take that in consideration. So what do you do when you walk into a brawl, right, where you have two groups or three groups? It could be Jamaicans, African Americans, Ghanaians, Nigerians, and you Ghanaians and you Nigerians do this to each other a lot, right? You guys are the closest, but you guys do it to each other a lot, right? And it makes it hard for someone who wants to be a Pan-African, right? Pan meaning the world, African, or global African. Global community African. That's what Pan means, guys. Okay, so you just know that, right? What do you do when you have somebody who have lofty ideas of unification, right? I love my black people, I love it, and then they run into the battle royale that's happening between the other groups of all the various different diasporas that are fighting because of the miseducation that was implanted in their brain by we all know who now, right? All right, we're graduating to different grades now. We got to get out of kindergarten. We got to start graduating. We got to get to college, all right, on this type of information. So what do you do? Because I hear a lot of people who used to be Pan-African. Like you got this guy named what's his name? Angry Biracial. I'm not sure if any of you guys ever heard of Angry Biracial. He's a YouTuber. He's an Arab black guy. He's half Arab, half black. He has a black wife, many black kids. But he used to be a Pan-African, right? And because he got such resistance from other people and his own people, right? Because he's obviously mixed, right? A lot of Pan-Africans have been mixed, right? So because of that, it turned him off because of the negative reactions he got or the lack of support he got from all the energy he was putting in on his Pan-African, ideas. So now he's turned into like an anti-black man, pro-black woman thing. He got his own thing going on, right? But, it was a result of the lack of support from his own people and from the other people when he was putting lots of energy into it. And there are a lot of former look at Tariq Nasheed, right? Tariq Nasheed was a Pan-African, right? Now, I don't know what happened, but he went from Pan-African to being anti-Pan-African, right? But if you notice, they always start out as Pan-African, and their excuses for being anti-Pan-African after starting out as Pan-African is because they got their feelings hurt by the very same people that they thought they were coming to help, that they thought they were coming to reconnect with, right? And I noticed that's a pattern with a lot of xenophobic people is they started out wanting to connect, but then their feelings got hurt on the journey. So they're like, you know what? F it. It's not worth it. I'm by myself. There's no reciprocation. And we hear a lot of African Americans who were once former Pan-Africans. They say, oh, the other side doesn't reciprocate. The other side, there are no Pan-Africans in Africa. There are Africans fighting each other in Africa. They don't believe in Pan-Africanism, right? You hear that, right? But the only people that actually say that are the people who just are not aware of everything that's actually going on in Africa, because they base their information off of a few videos, off a few encounters. Just because you see Boko Haram in Nigeria, right, and you hear a couple stories about this happening or that happening, doesn't mean that the entire country is in a tribalistic war and they're battling and they don't get along. But when you watch white Western TV, that's what they want you to think, right? So, people start forming their opinions based off faulty or skewed or manipulated information, right? And they start to think, well, maybe I'm going down, I'm just a dead end. Maybe it's impossible. There's no way we're ever going to unify because it's a dead end, right? But the truth is, the Boko Haram and the various other situations that's going on in Africa that are tribal are usually political, and there's usually more behind that than you can actually see because you're not involved in the day-to-day conversation, the day-to-day politics of the situation, because you're still listening to who are you still listening to for your information when it comes to Africa? You're still listening to them folks. Think about it. We just got here. All right, black people talking about Africa just got here. So all your information is off of that, right? Now, you may be an African American and you may have been a Pan-African, I love my brothers, but then you go to the store, you go to work, and you run into a Nigerian who's over here, and maybe he seemingly has an attitude with you, or maybe you think because of his mannerisms that you think that he's better than you. So then you develop a disdain for that individual because now you're like, oh, what do we African Americans always say? Oh, we gave y'all the opportunity, we went through this and that, and we start throwing out our resumes of trauma, right, to use that against other people and other black people when they come over here, to say you should appreciate us, right? And then and when we feel like the lack of appreciation happens, that's when we start to get tribalistic. Oh, you know what? F them. They don't appreciate our hard work and our labor and our sacrifice. So therefore, I'm going to not like them. Or they don't support us when we're doing this, we're doing that. When we're out here marching, they're not out here supporting us. And because of that, I'm not going to be a Pan-African. Forget them. It's just us, right? But in reality, you don't even know if they was out there supporting you because they look like you. How would you know if a Nigerian was out there supporting you African Americans in a march? When you see 10,000 people marching in Washington, D.C., black people marching in D.C. for a cause, how do you know that 1,000 of those are not Nigerian? The 500 of them are not Ghanaian. That probably like another 2,000 of them are not Liberians. How do you know that? You wouldn't know that, right? So because some black people, we haven't gotten it through our head that they are our people. And if they are our people, then they look like us. And if they live here, they act like us. So if they look like us and they act like us, they are us. We could never tell the difference. It's not like when you see a white guy, you're like, oh, we knew it was like 5 white guys out there. It was like 16 Asian guys out there. You never know. And the thing is, truth is, they've been there. They've been there right beside us the whole time. You just never saw them because they're your brother and they look like you. Right? So, but then when you get 1 or 2 people who are disgruntled and they come online and say, oh, African people have never supported us. And then you just roll with it because you think that's factual information. Because you literally don't have all the information. A lot of us are walking around with puzzle pieces to the picture. And we only see our small, narrow portion of the picture. But the picture is humongous. We need to start putting the pieces together. And once we put the pieces together and see the big picture, then we realize what we're looking at. And Europeans have done a great job. All right, give them credit. You gotta give them credit. I don't always give them. I think sometimes we give them too much credit for being some sort of omnipotent, evil group of people who just have all these evil powers and they can do all these things. A lot of the stuff that they've done, we've allowed to happen. Right? We were tricked a few times. We allowed it to happen. Right? But I'll give them credit for this. They did a great job confusing us and programming us to believe that we are not who we are. They did a great job. They did an amazing job. But age of information, all that's being unraveled. So as a black person, as an African American, right? First of all, I'm light skinned. Look at me. I'm light skinned. Look how yellow I am. All right. And if you notice, there'd be a lot of pro-black yellow people, right? They'd be like, you're yellow as hell, right? And so even my look, my phenotype, right? I'm not the typical African American, right? You don't think I get, cold. You don't think I get the mixed guy treatment sometimes? I get the mixed guy treatment all the time. I'm not mixed. Both my parents are black, right? right? People don't understand. I have Sankoy. I have Sankoy in my DNA. I have Igbo in my DNA. And the thing is, African Americans don't know what an Igbo or Sankoy is, and some of them just know what a Sankoy is just recently, right? And they don't even know what an Igbo look like. They think that the Yoruba dude, the dark skinned pitch black Yoruba dude represents West Africa. They don't know what an Igbo. You would never even know. You see an Igbo, you wouldn't know unless he turns his accent on, right? You'd never know, right? And that's our majority. We're majority Igbo and Yoruba, right? So I say this: when I get attacked by an African who challenged me for being African, like today, I got attacked today. Somebody told me you ain't no African. They may say something like, you're an American with African descent. They try to use that word descent to say, oh, you just got a sprinkle of it in there. You're not really, you something else, right? Now, yeah, if I was weak-minded, if I was uneducated, if I was more in tune with my emotions and I reacted with my emotions rather than being a man and compartmentalizing and rationalizing thought, I would get mad at that person and start going to come out, get back. I cuss them out. I'm like, oh, you this and that, or I'll come up with something to say. Like, where you from, right? And when I find out where they're from, I find the most derogatory thing I could possibly say to hurt their feelings because they hurt my feelings, trying to call them, say I'm not African. Because believe it or not, for all these African Americans that, you know, who talk trash about Africans, when an African person tells them they're not African, it hurts their feelings. It hurts their feelings. They don't like that. Don't tell them they're African. Even if they're telling you, I ain't African. I'm black. I'm indigenous. Tell them they ain't African. It's gonna hurt their feelings. They don't like that, right? Just like saying, that's like when you tell an African, right, that they ain't black, and they look at you like, how the hell are you gonna tell me I ain't black? We've been black before. Y'all was even over there calling yourselves black. What? Right? So instead of me engaging in verbal combat with this person because they took a shot at me, what I usually do is I take that opportunity to, you know, to make it a teaching moment. I'll say something like, no, I'm an African. I'm an African who lives in America. I'll say something to make my point without hurting their feelings. Because 9 times out of 10, that person's coming at me because that person's been in the fight. He's been in the brawl on the internet, talking back and forth with other unknowledgeable Africans from other places around the world, having verbal low IQ conversations in their feelings, taking shots at each other because they keep hurting each other's feelings. So me, as I elevate myself, as I grow and develop, right, and become smarter and wiser, you know, that's the African way. When someone attacks me, when a brother attacks me, I know they're coming from a place of ignorance. I know they're coming from a place of pain and hurt and confusion, right? Let me be that other example. So that way they can be like, man, I used to talk shit about Afro think tank, man. I would be saying this and saying that. But every time he responded, it was never nothing vicious. Sometimes he was even nice to me. I done turned some people around, okay? Just by the way I speak to them after they attack me, right? I done turned some of my haters into some of my biggest supporters. I don't want to say fans because I don't believe in the celebrity. I'm not trying to be a celebrity. I'm just a dude on the internet. I'm a regular black guy, just like the black guy watching me. The person that walks me, that like me, I'm just like them. I'm not special. I don't put myself on a pedestal at all. I think that's a mistake some of us do too. We like to put ourselves on pedestals. That's a black thing. That's one of our things. All right, we like to stand tall, right? But I don't put myself on a pedestal. I stay humble. The best I can, you know, to the best of my ability. I'm not perfect, but I stay humble because I know that I put my pants on like everybody else. I got bills like everybody else. I struggle like everybody else. And the problems I have in my life are no worse than the problems that other people have in their lives. You know, it's just that I've learned how to deal with my issues in a different and more effective way. And I'm still learning because I still got issues that I'm not dealing with, right? The way I should be dealing with, just like anybody else, right? So I don't put myself on a pedestal. So when I talk to people, when I talk to my black people, I'm talking equally. I don't care who you are. I'm talking to you equally. And I'm going to try to change your mind, right? And I encourage all my Pan-Africans, all my people who really want to just, you know, unite with their brothers and sisters, but they just keep running into these ignorant, hateful ass black folks that just won't let you do it. When they attack you, don't attack them. Let's use the Dr. Martin Luther King strategy on each other. All right. We use the Malcolm X strategy on everybody else, but yet let's use the Dr. Martin Luther King strategy on each other. While they're being venomous to us, let's be peaceful to them. And eventually they're going to stop being venomous to us because they're not going to have a reason to be venomous to us. They're not going to be able to justify their venom towards us. And this goes with your own community. Because there are African Americans who just don't like African Americans simply because they live down the street on another block that they don't own, that them folks own, right? So when you really, like, so that's why I keep saying we all got a piece of the puzzle, right? But we all can't see the big picture, right? You didn't get the box before before the white man dumped all the puzzle pieces on the table. Now they threw the box away. They didn't even let you see the box so you know what you're putting together. So we putting our puzzle pieces together blind, right? But of course, because black excellence is just inherent in us as a group of people, no matter where we are, we'll put the puzzle together, and we're doing a pretty good job at it. So I just want African Americans, whenever you're dealing with a black person that becomes unnecessarily venomous to you, right? Try to attack them with kindness. Kill them with understanding, right? Destroy them with education. And I promise you, you will break them down in a good way. You will break them down in a way that they will appreciate. And then one day, they will elevate their understanding and awareness, because by them attacking you, they're open and vulnerable, right? Because when you attack somebody, that leaves you open and vulnerable for a counterattack. You know, and that's a boxing reference. So you get somebody who punches a lot, guess what? They're susceptible to getting hit a lot, right? With something, right? So when you're getting attacked a lot, counterpunch with something positive. Show them that you're not that person that they think you are. But that requires you to take your ego, that massive ego, that advises you to take that and just put it in the back. Just put it back there. Be humble, right? Just be humble for a little bit, you know? Be Dr. Martin Luther King and allow them to hit you verbally. All right, don't let anybody really hit you. Allow them to hit you and give them unrelenting love and understanding. That will mess their head up. I'm telling you. They'll be like, man, I was being nasty to that person and they was talking to me normal, and now I can't be mad. Now I'm having a conversation. I done went from people talking trash to me having whole conversations to where we're like, man, all right, bro, I'll talk to you next time. Now they support me. Because you have to be an ambassador to your people. In the Marine Corps, they made it a point to say you are an ambassador when you go overseas to various other countries. So I took that seriously because I knew I was a black guy, right? And there was only a few of us black people, around a bunch of white people as United States Marines going around in other countries. So I knew I had to represent myself the best as I could, because I didn't want none of these foreign people to think that black people were like the ones they saw on TV, the fake ones, the thugs. And let me tell you something. They were shocked. They were absolutely shocked that I was a well-spoken black guy who was knowledgeable. I was intelligent. I was nice, kind, And even white people who were from like Kentucky, Utah, not Mississippi. Well, yeah. One guy was from Mississippi. One guy was from this guy. Man, let me tell you something. I had a dude from Mississippi. His name was Lee. Okay, that was his last name. Lee, you can probably guess who he was related to. And he was about the most stereotypical country bumpkin. You could tell he been saying the N-word his whole life, right? And I became aware that there's a lot of white people who's never actually met, in America, who's never actually met a black person. They've grown all the way up and never actually met a black person. So their only view of black people are what they see on TV. Because them folks not only program us, but program them as well, right? And even they couldn't believe that there was a black guy like me. They were so shocked, they wouldn't leave me alone. These white people would not leave me. I sat in a room and watched Roots with like 10 white guys from like the middle of America. And these guys was pissed off. They was upset. You should have seen them. I had to tell them to calm down because they didn't see Roots. You think they showing Roots in Kentucky? The whole series, you think that when they were playing Roots, when they was on TV, when they was playing it like every week on a simulcast, you think they were simulcasting movies like that out there in white country? Hell no. It was the first time they seen it. And they absolutely couldn't believe how bad things were because they're taught that slavery wasn't that bad. You should see the things that they watch. Huh? You should see the things that they watch. When they think of slavery, they have a whole different mindset, right? Because just like us, they've been miseducated. But we can't educate them, right? We have to educate ourselves. We got to get our own shit together. What do they say on the plane, right? You can't save other people until you save yourself. You take the mask down, you put it on, you go like that, you pull the little string, breathe, the bag will not inflate, don't worry about it. Once all that happens, then you can turn around and look at other people and help them out, right? Our problem is we've been putting everybody's masks on, making sure that they breathe while we're suffocating. That's what we do. Because inherently by nature, we're kind-hearted, loving, inclusive people who love and include everybody, right? Which is a fault of ours. It's good and bad. It's a curse and a blessing, right? Everybody loves it. Everybody wants it. But, they abuse it at the same time. But, but we still have to maintain that. That's just who we are. But all I'm saying is we have to be nicer to each other. We have to be extra nice to each other. We have to be we have to be so nice to each other, strategically. Don't allow people to hurt you or abuse you, obviously, right? But we have to make it a part of our culture to be extra nice to those black people who wanna harm us. Oh, well, not harm us. Who's verbally abusive to us, right? Kill them with kindness. We have to kill all of our own people with kindness. And we have to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. The same way we do white folk. The same way we do everybody else, Asians and stuff like that. We need to save all the energy and venom for everybody else. But not for us. We need to be extra nice to us, right? And before you know it, the tables will start to turn. Because in order for hate to exist, you have to feed it. It has to be justified, right? It has to have a place to play, right? So we can't create the arenas of hate within our own communities. We have to dismantle that. And the only way is for us to be the bigger man in the room. The bigger man in the room. We have to fight to be the bigger man in the room with our brothers and sisters. They should be trying to be bigger than us. We should be bigger than them. Put your ego, you put your ego back on then, huh? I'm so good. I love you so much. I don't care what you say, huh? Talk trash. I love you, brother. How about that? I'm telling you, knock them. I'm telling you, hit them with a counter strike of love when they trying to hate on you. It'll change the game. TKO. So if we try that as a strategy as black people, right? Like you got the girl in Jamaica, her sentiment, and I think she used to live in America. So she is just one who's built up a lot of animosity towards her brothers and sisters based off some of the things that she's experienced, right? And her way of combating that was to come on the internet and unnecessarily, blanket all African Americans as basically vagabonds because she had some bad experiences, right? That's not the way to go about it, because all she accomplished was create animosity. African Americans she manifested animosity, from African Americans towards Jamaicans, because there's going to be some African Americans who typecast all Jamaicans just because she said what she said and she did what she did, right? And I noticed in the comment section, now you got Jamaicans having to defend themselves because of what that one Jamaican did, right? Having to pour on the kindness and niceness and have to reinforce that they love us African Americans because of the hate that one Jamaican did. See, one person can dismantle a lot when all of us are not on the same page. And Jamaicans and African Americans are as close. You can't get okay. If you got Nigerians and Ghanans, right? Nigeria and Ghana. They are twin brothers. Nigeria and Ghana are twin brothers that fight all the time. But the love that they have for each other is truly and honestly can't be compared, right? That's the same thing with Jamaicans and Americans. Jamaicans and Americans. We are twin brothers. And we fight all the time. But the love that we have for each other is second to none, right? And we have to keep reminding ourselves that the love we have for each other is bigger than the individualistic hate and issues that happen amongst brothers and sisters every now and then. We have to realize that there's no such thing as a utopian society where every single individual gets along, because we know there are pieces of shit in every single one of our communities. And we know that those pieces of shit do not represent the overall community. They just represent them and their ignorance and their piece of shitness. Okay? And we have to keep those things in context. We have to keep those in context, right? And we can't shun our black people for one or two things that they may have done in the past and just say that, you know what, I'm gonna identify you with that one thing you did in the past. And I'm never gonna let it go. You can never move past that. You can never grow beyond that. I'm gonna judge you based off that thing you did in the past. Because if that was the case, right? Follow me here. If we really roll like that, if we really gonna hold, if we're gonna hold them accountable and be upset with them, and I'm gonna make a big example. I gotta get close to the camera. I'm gonna make a real big example, and I'm gonna wrap this up. All right. For my African Americans and my Africans, continental African. No, but the example I'm gonna use is African Americans towards Africans. If we are gonna hold an entire continent responsible for a few chiefs and kings who sold, to their understanding, other people, other kingdoms' people into a slavery which they didn't understand, if we're going to hold them accountable 400, 300 years later, right, and we're not going to give them a pass, how do we give a pass to all white people for starting the transatlantic slave trade, forcing these kingdoms to either get down or lay down when it comes to giving them slaves, and then when the kingdoms decided, they figured out what kind of slavery this was and they wanted to stop, destroyed all of our kingdoms, killed all of our kings for the most part and queens, chopped their heads off and put them in museums in Europe, stole all our shit and put them in museums in Europe, destroyed our culture, stole us, made us work for free for 400 years, built the biggest and most powerful Western nations the world has ever seen without paying us anything. How do we forgive all of that? How? By that same logic. So if we can forgive white people, and we can just live with them and move on and kumbaya and marry them and be all up in their culture and eat mayonnaise and shit, then we shouldn't have no problem with our brothers and sisters on the continent. We just have to elevate our thinking and be above the hate with each other. Okay? So that's all I want to say for now, guys. I hope you guys understood this. Hope you guys agree. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section. Tell me if you have any other strategies how to combat the hate and the lack of knowledge within our communities that cause so much division. Tell me in the comment section how we should do that. Have you had any experiences yourself with dealing with ignorance amongst your own community, and how did you handle that and resolve the situation and turn it around? Okay, so that's all I got to say for now, guys. Afro Think Tank, learn some, teach some. I'm out.